Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's showtime here on this extra special episode of The Cutting Room, the movie show by All the Right Movies, home of quality entertainment. I'm Luke, your MC for the evening, and with me, back from their exclusive 3-year tour of Europe, Scandinavia, and the subcontinent, won't you welcome, from Calumet City, Illinois, our very own Joliet, Jake, and Elwood, the Blues Brothers, Matt Westy.
Hello.
Hello.
I want to do it like Cab Calloway all the way through. Like that.
We are, of course, talking about the Blues Brothers on this episode of The Cutting Room. So, Matt, start us off. Why are we talking about the good old Blues Brothers boys band?
I've always thought this is a bit of an odd duck of a film. There's lots of things I like in it. Good scenes, good performances, very quotable. Whenever I'm at a bar, a restaurant with friends, we're deciding what to have, I'll bring out the orange whip, the orange whips.
Of course.
Bring that out all the time.
Of course.
Orange whip?
Yeah.
But I very rarely feel the urge to watch it for some reason. Like, it's never been up there for me with the classics of the time.
Shit.
And when I do watch it, I get to the end and I think, for everything in it that I like, I feel I should be more satisfied than I am. So I think it's going to be an interesting one to talk about.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. I've wanted to talk about it for a while because it's one hell of a wild ride. It's a film that I've loved since I was young, and I do like how off the wall it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a film that's outside of the bounds of logic, really. Is it a comedy or a musical or a sketch show or even a fantasy? I still don't have any idea. But I do love soul music, and I do really love the film. I've got a real affection for it. There is lots to talk about in the film, obviously, and in the production of the film as well. And it gives us a chance to talk about the comedic explosion that is John Belushi, which we haven't done. One of a kind.
No, we haven't. No.
You, how much for your wife?
Yeah, I mean, you say Belushi's one of a kind, but this film's one of a kind. I watched it
really
again the
is.
other night, and I just kept saying, like, there's nothing like this.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing like it, and it's
No, there
played
isn't.
so straight. It's so many comic beats that are played so straight, and I absolutely love that about it. I'm like you, look, I've loved this since I was a kid, and I just remember my parents just absolutely decked watching. My dad was just constantly just laughing at it, and I didn't really know what he was laughing at. I didn't quite get it, but the more I've watched it over the years, I think the more I love it. It's just a really, really great film. It's really nostalgic for me. It's just beautifully done. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah, very excited for this one. Okay, so before we get on the road with Jake and Elwood, I have one question for you fellas.
Yeah.
Do you see the light?
What light?
Have you seen the light?
Yes! Yes! Jesus H. Tap Dancing Christ! I have seen the light!
It's 106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Jake and Elwood Blues get their old band back together in the hope of raising $5,000 for their local orphanage. They book a gig at the Palace Hotel Ballroom, but their success is threatened as they are pursued by a jilted ex-girlfriend, the police, the Good Old Boys band, and a horde of Nazis in a haze of musical numbers and destructive car chases.
Have you heard yourself?
I know, it's ludicrous. Written by Dan Aykroyd and John Landis, The Blues Brothers was directed by Landis and produced by Robert K. Weiss for Universal Pictures. John Belushi and Dan Aykroyd star as the titular brothers, Joliet, Jake and Elwood Blues, and they're joined by a star-studded cast of R&B legends alongside the acting talents of Carrie Fisher, Henry Gibson and John Candy.
Yeah.
In our behind-the-scenes review of The Blues Brothers, we're talking about the director, the screenplay and the cast, and our favourite scenes from the film before we summarise and score it out of 10. And we're starting, as ever, the director, John Landis.
Lovely.
There were never any other options to direct the Blues Brothers than John Landis. Belushi had worked with him on Animal House. He was the guy.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what do you think of John Landis's work on The Blues Brothers?
I think this is where the issue is with the film for me, and it's the issue I have with Landis and Jen, was that I always feel he's a very lucky man who is in the right place at the right time a lot of the time, because American Werewolf Inside, which is the film he wanted to do since he was a teenager, so he was never going to mess that up. I just think it's very notable all of his successful films were with at least one major SNL star, and once he started doing other stuff or their star started to wane, he had nothing to offer as a director.
This doesn't bode well.
I think his flaw is he always prioritizes spectacle over story. American Werewolf does that to some extent. Trading Places has a fantastic first 2/3, but it starts to fall apart in the last third when you just start putting like ridiculous fancy dress costumes in and stuff like that. And here, I just think there's so much spectacle going on that by the end, I just feel a bit exhausted by it. Like everything's really loud, everything's really hectic, and it starts to tip into self-indulgence for me. Because I checked the time when I was watching this at one point, like when I was watching it the other night. I was 90 minutes into it, and I was astounded to see there was about another 45 still to go.
Yeah.
And for a film that's got a wafer-thin plot, I think it just needs cutting down. Like, that scene in the posh restaurant goes on for ages.
That'll be fine, pal.
What is Twiggy doing in there? Get rid of that.
It's crazy.
Entirely.
That is crazy.
It is crazy. Get rid of that straight away. And this one is perhaps controversial, but I could live without Carrie Fisher in this, to be honest. The performance is great, but plot-wise, not for me. Don't think it adds anything vital. So he's good at getting all his mates together, coming up with these big sequences that a big kid would love, and that's fine. He just lacks the discipline to really harness it into a story, and that's where it starts to fall down for me, and that's probably the reason I don't come back to this very often. It's fun. I just don't find it that funny, and I think that's because Landis just lets the whole thing run out of control, and I do know that's what appeals to some people about it, just not for me.
Oh, bit of a disappointment there, Matt. Westy, what about you?
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's your opinion, man.
Yeah.
Well, that's just like your opinion, man.
But I feel the opposite, the exact opposite. I feel like this is chaos, but it's really tight chaos. It really knows what it wants to do, and it does kind of want to play out. But I don't think Landis lets it go as far as it really wants to. He kind of keeps it constrained, and they know what's funny, and everything that's funny they play it straight. You need Carrie Fisher in there for that speech at the end.
You contemptible pig.
And I just love how crazy the film is, but at the same time it's zany, but it's still quite like respectful of the music. It's really respectful of that genre of music. And I think he does really, really well with this. I think this is Landis's, apart from American Werewolf, I think this is his personality coming across, his sense of humour, Aykroyd's sense of humour. It certainly is. Yeah. And I dig that. I buy that. I think that's good. I like it that they're just playing it straight, and it's absolute chaos. It's mental, but it's brilliant. And it's just really highlighted for me in that mall scene.
Would there be anything else?
Yes, do you have a Miss Piggy?
They're driving around, and they're smashing the whole place up. But it's like, this place has got everything. PR1 imports, and they slam into it.
Pants and burgers. Yeah, lots of space in this mall.
I don't know anyone else who could have directed it this tongue-in-cheek, but this well. I mean, that mall scene was shot at Dixie Square Mall in Harvey, Illinois. It had been shut down the year before, which still looks absolutely fantastic for being shut down for a year. It should look like Dawn of the Dead. But just,
I was thinking that,
like ripe to be trashed for the film, and like it didn't officially get torn down until 2013.
I'm proud to say we were the first movie to trash a mall.
But I think they make the stunt work in this is just stupidity. It's got to be so careful.
That mall scene is so extended and over the top.
Yeah. And this is when the music builds and they come out the glass at the end, and they just like land on the beat. It's just ridiculous, but I love it. I love it for the reasons that Matt doesn't love it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Think about that mall scene though, like that was years before CGI, obviously, so all the stunts in the film are real. And I do appreciate the stunt work, of course I do. It is very impressive because they had 40 stunt car drivers on set, and one of them was Ethan Wayne, who's John Wayne's son.
John Wayne's son, yeah.
Yeah. So he was one of them, and they bought 6-year-old cop cars for $40 each just to destroy.
That's crazy, isn't it?
It was absolutely insane. And I mean, at the time, the film set the record for the highest number of vehicles destroyed on film, which I'm not surprised about, especially the final chase and the start coming off.
Yeah.
We got to get off the road. It's just genius. And it was 104, I think. And it still stands at number 8 in the top 10, which is still pretty good for the year it was released. But Transformers 3 topped the pile with a whopping 532.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't the only mess created by the film.
It's hold the record for the most mess of anything ever. Dropping cameras.
Creating some stink on that film.
Career's over.
Well, I'm all about the music and the Blues Brothers. It's absolute unbridled joy for me. the old landmark piece, the number in the church with James Brown.
Yeah.
Backflips and praising the Lord. That scene is unadulterated pleasure. Watching James Brown do his thing at the back and singers and the congregations flailing limbs everywhere.
Yeah.
Hand claps and jumper jacks. Just crazy.
Sweating.
Yeah, sweating. And all of that is before the boys begin to see the light and we get the Belushi backflips and Aykroyd running on the spot dancing. It's one of the best scenes in the film. It cuts to Belushi at one point and he's doing the most ridiculous dances. And I think Landis captures the whole scale of it beautifully. I know, Matt, you said it was kind of chaos, and this is, but the editing is really tight in this. It's all over the place, and the fast cuts get faster from Brown to the congregation, to the back and band, to the boys. It gets more frenetic as the song does, and I think that really works well in this. And the Aretha scene as well. I mean, it's just as good. She's a hell of an actress. Best damn fried chicken in the state. She's great.
Acidic diamond merchant.
You want butter or jam on that toast, honey?
No, ma'am. Dry.
4 fried chickens and a Coke. Literally,
Do you want anything to drink with that? No.
No, ma'am.
Coke.
And a Coke.
I love when the boys join in with the dance steps halfway through the number. And they're completely at home in the situation. Yeah. And it's clear that they're not piss-taken, and neither is the film for that matter. No. Their love for the music from the film, like, it jumps from the screen. It's a real celebration of music and culture.
Yeah.
Aretha had a bit of an issue with lip syncing on a rendition of Think. I think that's very obvious.
It's very obvious, yeah.
Yeah. John Lee Hooker's Boom Boom was performed live, as was James Brown's, with the aid of a pre-recorded gospel track, but Aretha's was lip synced, and yeah, I mean, it's awful. But the reason for that is because she only performed the version of the song the same once, so she just didn't know how to do it. It was multiples and multiples of takes.
Yeah, she never did the same thing twice.
So these numbers are the moments that keep you coming back again and again, and I think a lot of that is down to Landis's handling of these scenes, in particular the musical numbers.
Mm-hmm.
You can see longer cuts of these musical numbers along with additional scenes in the extended cut of the film. The original cut of Blues Brothers came in at over 2.5 hours within intermission. And at the test screen in Universal Studio head Lou Wasserman spotted Landis in the back of the theatre and went like this. Cut it. It was obviously too long.
Landis like that. The light just up from the projector hitting him.
Yeah. But I mean, they burn through Universal's money. Like you said, Matt, I think there is there's a certain lack of control, at least because the film went $10 million over budget.
10 million over.
Crazy. But despite being called a $30 million wreck by the LA Times, the Blues Brothers was a worldwide box office smash, pulling in $115 million. Yeah. So unbelievably, John Landis pulled together a semi-coherent film, quite a feat considering the tales of on-set excess and destruction, and obviously more on that later. It was a global success, and despite a few negative contemporary reviews, its solid reputation has grown over time, and it's still firmly in place as a cult classic.
Oh, massively. It's iconic now.
It is. Incredibly, the Blues Brothers started out as a straight-down-the-line R&B band with a little bit tongue-in-cheek. They made their first appearance... Yeah, just a little bit. They made their first appearance on SNL in 1978. They toured with the Grateful Dead the same year and released the double platinum-selling album Briefcase Full of Blues. In the same year, Belushi's popularity rose after his part in Animal House, and so did the clamour for Blues Brothers on the big screen. The screenplay was a joint writing venture between Aykroyd and Landis. It was Aykroyd's original script, 6 months in the making, which came in at a momentous 324 pages, which is a 5.5-hour film.
Do you know why? Because they toured with the Grateful Dead, that's why.
Yeah.
How long are the songs going to be? About 45 minutes, I would imagine.
5.5 hours?
Yeah.
It was delivered, actually, to the producer, wrapped in the cover of the Yellow Pages, and contained backstories and digressions for each of the 8 members of the band.
I think Dan Aykroyd tried to take a little of the sting out with a little humor, actually making it look like a phone book.
Unnecessary. We don't even get backstories for Jake and Elwood.
Yeah, I mean, cocaine's one hell of a drug.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Landis got a hold of it and beat it down to a more digestible runtime, which for a film like this, over 2 hours, 10 minutes, is still pretty unheard of, right? I mean, there's no film like this, but, you know, the mission from God bit was Landis's idea, as was the 4 fried chickens that Jake orders after he saw Belushi eating the same volume.
A Coke.
Westy.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And a Coke.
And a Coke.
And a Coke.
What do you think of Dan Aykroyd and John Landis' screenplay, Westy?
I mean, yeah. How much of this is actually on the page and how much of this do they just have fun with when they're out there? I think the set pieces are there and done. He knows what he wants to do with the action. Mm-hmm. I do think the dialogue's incredible. Some of the back and forths, and some of it's just very, very... It's just played out so subtly as well. I just love the bit when that I'm going to talk about is for me highlight, but it's like Bob's Country Bunker. But I just love some of the dialogue in that sequence. I love the dialogue with Jake. I love the dialogue between the two of them. I love when Willie sits down and they're going to see them, and he's kind of like,
"So Jake, you're out, you're free, you're rehabilitated. What's next? What's happening? What you gonna do? You got the money you owe us, motherfucker?"
With that dialogue, I just absolutely love it.
That's great.
It is really, really good.
So I don't want to hear any more of this small change shit.
But I do like the writing. I like the dialogue. I like the story. It's not too long for me. 5.5 hours might have been, maybe.
Definitely.
But, I like a long film. So, yeah, I'm more than happy with the writing. I think it's great.
As well as it being, like, mammothly overlong originally, there was a companion book that also came out at the same time because you just needed more stuff about it, obviously.
Yeah, you need a bit more stuff. You need to know more about the characters.
Well, you do, because it came in the form of a dossier as well, like packed full of files, which gave a backstory to the characters, even more backstory. So Jake's surname, that turns out to be Papa George, one word, not two. And
Brilliant.
His mother died in childbirth while serving time for murdering her husband.
Is it specified that they're actually brothers, or they're just pretend
they're just
that they're
brothers, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they're like the Ramones in that respect, aren't they? They're Joey Ramone, Jake Blues. I want to talk about the narrative structure and the common conventions in the film that are, I mean, clearly nowhere near this script.
No.
They're abandoned.
So say narrative structure.
Yeah, it's not there. It's not there. It's hardly got a plot. You mentioned, Matt. Two dudes pull together their old band, raise $5,000 for their local orphanage.
If you want to put it that way, Maury, we need this gig.
We're on a mission from God.
That's it. In a like 2 hour, 15-minute film, 2 hour, 20-minute film. A lot of story, very little in the way of plot. It kind of does start like a normal film, I suppose, but I mean, it's elongated. It takes its sweet time about things. No dialogue for that first 6 minutes. Those helicopter shots at the start, they were used. They were fired at by Joliet prison guards. They thought they were being spied on for a future getaway plot.
So just open fire.
Yeah, yes.
Don't look into it any further than that. Just open fire.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, it just leaps. It takes huge leaps in tone. There are these huge musical numbers. John Lee Hooker, Aretha Franklin, and Ray Charles, full songs, all within the space of 12 minutes. Mm-hmm. All three of them. It's just all over the place. And then huge car chases, an unnamed woman who's trying and failing massively to kill the boys with elaborate weapons. I mean, it's like a Roadrunner cartoon. Meep, meep. And like you said, Matt, if that wasn't bizarre enough, Twiggy shows up in the final third.
Yeah.
That scene is ripe to be trimmed from the final cut.
Yeah.
And I just don't think with all of those elements, I just don't think a film like this gets past a pitch or even to the pitch in 2023.
No.
Blues Brothers 2000.
They really don't. Yeah.
You can't do it again.
Awful. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
And things just happen very conveniently. They need $5,000. They get a gig at the Palace Ballroom. Easy as pie. Boom, boom, boom. Just like that. And for some reason, well, I suppose it sets it up with the tone, but you're not really left questioning the absurdity of it all. There's no real strong reason why they're so determined to help the orphanage either. It just feels like a selection of comedy bits stitched together between musical numbers and cartoon. It feels like an SNL.
It's very much Saturday Night Live.
Yes. Sketches
it's an action
together.
Film of Saturday Night Live sketches, really.
Yeah. One of my favourites of the so-called SNL sketches is the one where the boys pay a visit to the penguin at the start.
Oh, yeah.
It still makes me roll around on the floor. It's really basic comedy, but it just works so well. Slapping the boys with the ruler for blaspheming. Elwood calls her a fat penguin, and she snaps the ruler over his...
Oh, you fat penguin!
It's
fuck
shit.
this noise, man.
Fuck this noise. I love that. When they just keep swearing and just keeps hitting them and brings that metal pole out. He's like, fuck this noise.
Fuck this noise, man.
I mean, unbelievably, the Blues Brothers film actually received a blessing from a higher plane. If you know about this, Pope John Paul II was doing a visit to the US in 1979 and visited the set. Belushi kissed his ring, right, which is just, he probably just stormed over. Give us your hand. Yeah. There you are. We'll have some of that. Surprised he didn't take it off and chew it. Yeah. In 2010, the Vatican included the Blues Brothers on their list of recommended movies for Catholics, which is ridiculous. Obviously, blasphemy calling a nun a fat penguin and tales of wild cocaine use on the set slipped through the net, but like, for them to put that in
That's ridiculous.
How? You only see the first 15 minutes. Put this in.
Yeah. Passion of the Christ, Temptation of Christ, The Robe, and the Blues Brothers. I imagine.
That's your weekend sorted.
Unbelievable. Matt, what about you? What's your thoughts on the writing?
Yeah. Well, one thing you can't doubt is just that genuine love for R&B. And the legends that made the genre what it is. And it is genuinely fantastic to see that they've written them into the film as much as possible. We mentioned the big ones,
Absolutely.
but, Cab Calloway in there, giving a Minnie the Mooch at the end. That's an absolute joy. And some of the best songs of the era in there as well, Think, Shake Your Tail Feather. But it's also the fact that they pay tribute to some of the more unknown people of the era that demonstrates that Aykroyd really knew what he was writing about. So we mentioned Aretha Franklin, but her sister is in that scene as well. Younger sister who had her own career. So it's really great that they gave her role. Aretha's husband, that's Matt Murphy. He was a blues guitarist, worked with the likes of Chuck Berry, Etta James. So loads of references throughout the film in the writing, which I do really appreciate. And that's down to Aykroyd making sure they're in there, because what's really interesting is Universal weren't keen on all these old names. They wanted disco groups in there. They wanted people like Rolls Royce. But then they're obviously happy with how much money the film made. So they then pushed for Aretha Franklin to get an Oscar nomination just for that one scene alone.
Wow. She's good.
She is good. And it's happened before. Beat a Straight Network, that's one scene, and she won for that true. One. So it's happened before, but obviously she didn't get the nomination, but it did revitalise her career, actually. She was a little bit in the doldrums back then, and that was actually the same for all the artists who were very easy to book, apart from Ray Charles, because he was the only one who was still active on the music scene at the time.
Nice.
Yeah, because that music wasn't hip, was it?
No. Oh, no.
No, not then.
And they had a problem with distribution as well. When the film came out, theatres wouldn't show it in predominantly white neighbourhoods. So it's a miracle that it was so successful. Yeah. But I suppose cream rises to the top, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
Yeah. Talent on show like this, incredible.
In addition to the headline R&B acts you mentioned there, Matt, the backing band were all legitimate musicians, which you can tell when you actually
can tell.
Yeah, it's fantastic. They're just absolutely on point. I would love to have seen them live. Absolutely incredible lineup.
Tight.
Yeah, you've got Steve Cropper, Donald Duck Dunn. They were members of Stack's house band, Booker T and the MGs. Despite the ramshackle nature of the film and how it all just kind of seems put together, you can see how important this band is. And when you see the band and you see them play, you see the light.
Yes! Yes! Jesus H. Goddamn Christ! I have seen the light!
Hey, man!
The band! I knew a hooker once named Minnie Mazzola.
No, the song!
Hit it!
Aykroyd met Belushi in 1973, and he said it was love at first sight.
Yeah.
They cultivated their act over the next 5 years, and despite a shaky start on the screenplay from Aykroyd, they created iconic characters that have entered into popular culture with a huge helping hand from the legends of soul and R&B.
Yeah.
The success of the Blues Brothers was reliant on many factors, and one of which is the bloated cast of characters. We picked out our favourites here, and I'm starting off by talking about the one and only John Belushi as Joliet Jake Blues.
Yes, lovely. Of course.
A huge deal at the time, Belushi.
Exactly. It was K9, Red Heat for me. He's absolutely incredible now.
Or a K9 2? Isn't that like that one?
Was there a K9 2?
I think there's 3 of them.
Is there? There's not 9 of them. That would have been better.
K9, I've not seen the first 8.
Belushi in there, huh?
Yes. No. Westy is obviously referring to Jimmy Belushi,
Yes.
John's brother, look-alike, not as talented.
Nowhere near.
No.
Still funny, though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Why not? So, John Belushi. In 1978, he was huge. He had a #1 album. He was on SNL, the #1 TV show.
Hi, I'm John Belushi. Just having a cup of coffee before the show. It's kind of a tradition with me.
And he had the #1 film in Animal House. Mm-hmm. He was the big draw for this film.
I'm a zit. Get it?
For me, it's not so much an acting performance as a physical performance, really. But I do love his first lines. He's antagonistic straight away when he gets in the car. What's this? The car, the stupid car. And he throws the cigarette lighter out. That's the only thing that was improvised in the script.
What's this?
What?
This car. This stupid car.
But that right there makes me happy to be in his company for 2 hours. He's got that magnetic kind of like uncompromised and confrontational personality that I really just can't get enough of.
Yeah, I traded it for a microphone. I can kind of see that.
Yeah, okay.
And when they jump over and he's like, you don't like
got
it?
a lot of pickup.
Yeah, the car's got a lot of pickup. Yeah, I love that.
There's that outrageous moment at J. Paul, which, Matt, I do agree with you. Too long.
Yeah.
But what I do really like, and it's outrageous, is he turns into that European sleazeball, asking the guy how much for his daughters and his wife. How much for the women? He wants to buy them. Sell me your children.
The women. How much for the women?
It goes back to his normal voice straight away, like, we need you, man.
For the women, your daughters. It's ridiculous.
Slaps
outrageous.
the guy on the back, nearly chokes him.
Sell them to me. Sell me your children.
Maitre d'.
I imagine that accent was influenced by his dad, who was Albanian. It sounds very much like the cheeseburger guy, one of his characters from SNL, who Jimmy Belushi, your favourite Westie, he said was just like their dad.
Right.
One cheeseburger, one Pepsi. Cheeseburger. Pepsi.
Belushi was obviously, legendary, a famous hellraiser. He died at 33 of a drug overdose. He was beloved in his hometown of Chicago. During production, he would literally hail down cop cars like taxis, and they would take him in and take him anywhere he wanted to go. He was a legend.
I've got this Belushi story that I heard years ago, right? And I still absolutely love it, but I've got it written down so I don't get anything wrong. So I'm sure it's when they were shooting the church sequence, and he just got a bit bored and disappeared, and Aykroyd couldn't find him at all. So he's supposed to be in his trailer. And he stumbled upon this house and knocked on the door out of desperation more than anything else to see if Belushi was in there. So Aykroyd just walking the streets, basically.
And the guy said, yeah. And I said, we're shooting a movie over here. Yeah, I know. Well, and we're looking for one of our actors. Yeah, I know, Belushi. He came in there about a half an hour ago. He raided my fridge. He's asleep on my couch.
So apparently Belushi showed up and said, this guy's known, just said, listen, you know who I am. I'm hungry and I'm thirsty. Can I come in? And he's like, just let him in. And he just raided his fridge, drank everything, passed out. And it was the story that led Aykroyd to call Belushi America's guest, because everyone was just drawn to him. Like if John Belushi knocked on my door, I would have been like, come on,
course.
amazing.
Get in.
Yeah, sure thing. Brilliant.
Yeah. It's amazing. Do you know that that's not the only nickname he had on set? He was also called the Black Hole, and that's because he was always losing or breaking the sunglasses, and those Ray-Ban Wayfarers needed replacing literally hundreds of times. No one went 10 million over budget.
Just on glasses.
Just on glasses alone.
Just on Ray-Bans. Yeah.
And then one day, this young aspiring guy turned up on set called Paul Brickman, who wanted to be a director. And Belushi was just like, oh yeah, you're great. Have a dozen sunglasses. And do you know what Brickman's debut film was?
No, I don't.
Risky Business. So those shades that Tom Cruise wears, they are Blues Brothers shades from Belushi.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's amazing, isn't it? Love that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. As mentioned, the budget ballooned from 17.5 million to 27.5. It was partly due to Belushi's burgeoning cocaine habit, which halted production. A number of times, they kind of lost about 5 days shooting because of it.
Which is a lot, but there are a couple of times on the movie where I was really worried about his health.
Aykroyd confirmed that there was a portion of the budget allocated to cocaine for night shoots. I mean, imagine that now in a major studio.
Absolutely not.
What's this? That's for cocaine. What?
Yeah. Actually,
what?
Like in the books.
Yeah.
Send that the accountant.
This is all fine.
It's fine. Yeah.
File that.
Yeah, no worries. 4 fried chickens and a cocaine.
Wonderful. What I'm finally most impressed about with Belushi as his performance on stage. It does tap into his comedic persona, but for a big fella, he has got some moves.
Yeah.
And that's his voice. Great pipes.
Yeah.
I just think he's got such presence on screen without having to say very much at all.
Yeah.
Like all of the great comics do.
Yeah.
Matt, who are you going for in the cast?
I'm going to go for Aykroyd because I think it's probably his most iconic role. You know, you've got Ray from Ghostbusters, obviously, but I do think if you say to someone, picture Dan Aykroyd in a movie right now, I think it will be Elwood who comes to mind. Like, just a picture of elegant, cool, and it's the simplicity of him. Glasses, suit, hat, that's all he needs, but it all works. And obviously, he's written it as well, but everything that Aykroyd does well as an actor anyway is all in Elwood's character. So, for example, Aykroyd has always had one of the best poker faces in film. Absolute deadpan, like Buster Keaton. And that works so well. And also that ability he has to deliver dialogue with that rat-a-tat-tat pace. Like, when he introduces Everybody Needs Somebody to Love, that is one hell of a night.
We would especially like to welcome all the representatives of Illinois' law enforcement community who have chosen to join us here in the Palace Hotel Ballroom at this time.
Who else could get that line out at such a pace in one piece with the rest of it and still make it intelligible? I don't think anyone else other than Aykroyd. And the last thing I'd say about him watching this again, like, he's obviously a gentleman of a certain age now and, you know, comes with a bit of understandable weight gain. It's going to happen to us all, so no judgment. But just back then, he was like skinny as Whippet. And it's always like really makes me smile to remind myself of that. And he could bust out some proper moves back then as well, which he looked at anything well, surely not. But back then he could. So yeah, for me, it's the definitive Aykroyd performance.
What about you, Westy? You going to bring it home?
I'm going to go for a controversial choice. I mean, we've mentioned pretty much everybody in the cast. So for me, it's going to be Carrie Fisher because I absolutely adore her performance in this. I think she's so brilliant and so funny and so pissed off that I just find her incredibly just endearing in just the effort that she's going to kill this guy. And then you find out why. And it's like, you know, and for the common good, I must kill you and your brother. Like, for the common good, you're an absolute menace.
For my mother, my grandmother, my father, my uncle, and for the common good, I must now kill you and your brother.
I love it when she's doing her nails and she's turning over the page and you see it's about a flamethrower and then you forget about it and then the next scene then they're in their payphone and blows it up with the flamethrower and then they land on the ground. Like, must be about $700 worth of change here.
And Jake just scrambles for it.
It's just great. Then just a massive rifle at the end, just peppering this.
Who is that girl?
Yeah. It's just amazing. And like, Elwood's got no idea. Like, when did Jake do this?
I know.
You know, and he's like...
Surely they've been in each other's pockets all their lives. How does he not know?
And it's brilliant because you just say, well, it's not really his brother. He doesn't know any of his backstory. He's just trying to avoid things. In that moment where he just takes the glasses off and you just see Belushi just that acting.
I didn't have enough money for cab fare. My tux didn't come back from the cleaners. An old friend came in from out of town. Someone stole my car.
And when he just looks at her, kisses her, and then just drops her on the floor. It's so fucking funny. But Fisher and Aykroyd were a couple at the time in the film, and she was choking on a Brussels sprout.
Right, understandable.
And Aykroyd performed the Heimlich maneuver and then proposed straight after. It's just like in the dinner scene. It's like, I want to buy your woman. Bang, Brussels sprout. Yeah.
So, I mean, she starred in The Empire Strikes Back, released the same day as the Blues Brothers, and they were number 1 and number 2 at the box office. So to have Fisher on the film was, a huge coup, really. And it's down to her relationship with Belushi. They were best pals.
Yeah, but she can tell. It's just so much fun to have her in there. I think she's just great. So
2 iconic performances from Belushi and Aykroyd, along with an extended destructive cameo from the always wonderful Carrie Fisher.
Always.
In a film stuffed full of outstanding musical numbers, it's no surprise that they feature heavily in this segment. Westy, what have you got for us?
Oh, I'm good. I mean, there's so many highlights in this film. It's like Bob's Country Bunker. And it's just there's so many lines of dialogue that's quotable in this bit. It's so good. We got both types, you know, country and western.
Country and western. So that's a good line.
What kind of music do you usually have here?
Oh, we got both kinds. We got country and western.
And he's just... It's a beautiful place, Bob. And he's just really hamming it up.
Hey, you the good old boys? That's us. The rest of the band's out in the parking lot getting our stuff together.
When they're walking up the stage, it's like chicken wire. And you're thinking, what the fuck's going on in here? And this kick in with Rawhide, and everyone goes crazy.
Remember the theme from Rawhide?
The old favorite, Rowdy Yates.
What key? Hey, good country key.
Jake gets that whip, man. It just every time.
Yeah!
And then it cuts to that woman, and the tab comes out of her mouth when he whips it. It just flies, and she's like, what's going on? And you can tell they've played, Sometimes It's Hard to Be a Woman, and they've played Rawhide all night. They've got nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, how late are the good old boys?
Really late. Yeah. Unbelievably. Must be 11:30.
Yeah. He's like, we're running really late. And it's like, his dialogue's great when he's like, you're going to look pretty funny trying to eat a corn on the cob with no fucking teeth.
That's so funny.
That's good, great. No fucking teeth.
That's so funny.
You're going to look pretty funny trying to eat corn on a cob with no fucking teeth.
And he's like, just start the car. Elwood's in the car. I've got to write it out on the glove compartment.
Got a pencil.
Yeah. Oh, pencil. Just that little bit there. It's just so good.
Your pencil.
But yeah, Bob's Country Bunker for me is a big, big highlight of the film. I don't think I'll ever tire of that. And when I watch it with somebody who hasn't seen it, I always get excited about that bit coming on. Because I'm like, this is it. This is where the film kind of starts, really.
Jake introducing Stand By Your Man as a favourite of the horn section.
I would like to do a favor of the horn section. Go with one of yours.
And the horns don't play in the song at all. A lovely gag, that. That's a lovely gag.
And it's like the Stand By Your Man bit when they're doing the whole... Yeah, just making it up on the spot. Genius.
Great.
Favourite of the horn section.
Matt, what about you? What's your favourite scene?
Yeah, well, it's another musical scene, and it's Shaky Tail Feather.
Naturally.
Because it's one, it's one of the moments of the film where everything does work for me, everything comes together. And for Ray Charles, always one of the coolest, you know.
Pardon me, but we do have a strict policy concerning the handling of the instruments.
Just radiate sheer charisma. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the action on this piano. And then straight into the intro.
Excuse me, I don't think there's anything wrong with the action on this piano.
It's Goosebumps stuff because as a song, I don't know if there's any other song that is just as much pure joy as Shake Your Tail Feather. Like, I don't care if you're someone who says they never dance. If your toe isn't tapping away during this, at least, you're probably dead. And I think it's, Landis really does think about this scene as a musical because once you cut outside to the street, that's where it comes alive. Kids dancing on tops of cars, huge crowds of people, all got the dance moves going on, somersaults, spot clapping. That's what a musical should be. It's really triumphant, and it's what I want more of in the film. I think some of the magic tones could have worked a bit harder to keep in sync. Like, some of those kicks are way apart from the others. Way apart. But watching it again, what I kept getting drawn to was Aykroyd on this, because Elwood is such a deadpan presence throughout the film. But Aykroyd, he can't stop grinning during the sequence. And you think, you know what? Can't blame him, can you?
I don't think he's acting at that point.
No, I don't think
he's just enjoying himself.
He's in heaven.
He's with his best mate, and Ray Charles is playing piano, playing Shake Your Tail Feather for them. Life doesn't get better, does it?
Yeah.
Really, in that moment. It doesn't. But what's great is those aren't real dancers outside. They were just random people that the crew found on the street and got them to join in, because the thing was, Jake and Elwood's moves are pretty crap. So, this would make a good compliment to that.
Yeah. There's a kid
I actually think they're really good. There's a kid with some amazing moves.
5-6-year-old.
Yeah.
And she's got amazing hair. She's got an amazing outfit. She's got flares on. Yeah. And her moves are absolute. Every time I see her, I'm just like, that's so cool.
Yeah. Just a little factoid: that kid who tries to sneak in and steal the guitar before he gets shot at, that's Devereaux White, who's best known as playing Argyle, the limo driver from Die Hard.
Right, nice.
I was hoping you could tell me. It's my first time driving a limo.
Well, I'm going to round things off here by talking about the Palace Ballroom gig and the ensuing car chase.
Boom.
Now, the ensuing car chase is 30 minutes before the end of the film.
Yeah.
And you think the Palace Ballroom gig should be the end piece. Well, no. Another long car chase. Yeah. But at the gig, there's nothing finer than watching Cab Calloway scatting. Call response with the crowd.
Yeah.
That's skiddly boom, skiddly boom, skiddly boom, boom, boom. That's amazing.
That's a biddly, but the door.
That's wonderful. The two electric performances by the boys, Everybody Needs Somebody to Love, Sweet Home Chicago. Shortest set ever because there's no cutaways. It's just one song into the other.
Yeah.
And then they make a run for it.
That's enough.
Like just another classic Belushi tale. He saw a kid on a skateboard, somehow got it off him.
He's on.
It's a board with wheels.
He's an absolute dream.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't last long because he fell off, obviously, busted his leg. But the worst thing was it happened on Thanksgiving. So Lou Wasserman, we mentioned, head of Universal, he had to beg an orthopedist to delay his vacation just to fix Belushi up. So during this scene, Belushi's leg was strapped up and he was hopped up on painkillers.
And just a mention of John Candy here. It would be remiss if we didn't mention the Orange Whip bit.
Yeah.
The sales director for Orange Whip Company provided refreshments on set and he asked Landis for a plug. He mentioned this to Candy and this is what he came up with. It's just very, very small, but it's just made such a, like, personally for us, it's obviously just made such an indelible mark. We see it all the time and we always have done for years.
For years and years.
For
We actually got them made.
We did. We got a barman to go out to a supermarket to buy the ingredients and came back and made us orange whips.
Yeah.
Who wants an orange whip? Orange whip? Orange whip? 3 orange whips.
The final chase scene, that cost more than $3.5 million, which is more than 10% of the whole budget and $500,000 more than the entire Animal House budget 2 years ago.
Well, that's seen.
But that high-speed footage under the L, it's pretty good. I mean, it wouldn't, and it's not really on that level, but it wouldn't be out of place in the French Connection.
No, it's faster than the French Connection, miles faster.
It is. To secure Chicago as a location, which wasn't a major filming location up to this point, Belushi went to new mayor of Chicago, Jane Byrne, and he offered $200,000 to local orphanages. She went for a promise to smash through the Daly Center as well, owned by a political rival. Richard D. Daly was also warmly received by Byrne, which is exactly what they do in the final moments.
Yeah.
Great. But possibly the most bonkers, crazy, insane stunt of all in the film is the Nazi car that plummets to the ground, which isn't a special effect. It was dropped 1,200 feet from a helicopter into an unused parking lot in the middle of the city, in the middle of Chicago. Landis had to get advice, like the impact of the wind, from the Federal Aviation Administration so that it didn't land on the street and kill people. I mean, what? That's out of control. There's where your budget's gone.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's really crazy for the impact it has on the, shall we say, narrative.
We
zero.
Shouldn't. No.
Zero.
No, it's unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's just out of control. Aykroyd always wanted to smash up a mall, and he got his wish. Landis wanted to drop a punto 1,200 feet from the air from a helicopter. He got his wish.
They're just having
None
a great
of it makes any sense.
They're having a great time.
Yeah. And the 10 million over budget, you can see why.
Yeah.
So, mirroring the film itself, our highlights are a lethal cocktail of musical numbers, R&B legends, high-speed pursuits, and orange whips.
Orange whips.
We've reached the end of our conversation on the Blues Brothers, unfortunately, but we've got one final number for you, and this is where we summarise and score the film out of 10. Westy, your summary and score for the Blues Brothers.
Love it, always have, but I give everything a fucking 10, and I've got to stop because it's just getting ridiculous. I can't give this what I would give like The Godfather or like...
No, you can't.
I just really can't. I love it. It's great. It's bonkers. It's crackers. There's nothing quite like it, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not for everyone, but it's still an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, very nice. Well, a big fan of the film. A lot of funny moments, a lot of great car chases, a lot of song and dance numbers. And usually those things don't go hand in hand. And, that does leave me really confused by the whole thing, particularly as I've got older and coming back to this now, I'm thinking, what on earth is going on?
Yeah.
What on earth were they thinking? How did they get this past like a budget? Who in their right mind's given this gang of idiots $17.5 million to make this film? And there's also that Twiggy scene, which just needs to go.
Yeah.
Just needs to go. But Aykroyd, and particularly Belushi, are a wonderful double act. And I can't help but be consumed by joy at seeing Aretha, James Brown, doing their thing. Amazing.
Yeah.
It's a very strange film. That's for goddamn certain.
Yeah.
And what else is for certain is that it's also an 8.5 for me.
Lovely.
Okay. What about you, Matt?
Yeah. I think it's just very much horses for courses, this one, I think. Like, it's certainly not a bad film at all. Like, performances are all really good. There's not one film that lets it down. And it's got great highlights, but I think that is the issue for me. It's just highlights. Oh, it's that great bit, and then I switch off for 20 minutes. Oh, then it's that great bit, switch off another 20 minutes. And I think it's because Landis, I don't think he's a great storyteller as a director. He can do the action scenes great, but it's all the bits in between. I don't think that's his thing. So it's some of the parts are good. It's just the whole doesn't come together. And it's like, if you got like Weatherspoons for a burger, well, I like a burger and I like onion rings and I like chips, but it hasn't come together brilliantly. And I'm still a little bit hungry at the end. So that's what this film is for me. So it's a 7.5.
7.5.
Weatherspoons
the
burger.
Weatherspoons burger.
It's a Weatherspoons burger of a film.
The Blues Burgers.
Blues Burgers.
Well done.
Oh, God. Blue cheese.
That's great.
Let's do that.
Like a bit of blue cheese.
I don't think you get blue cheese on a Weatherspoons burger.
No, well, you just bring it with you.
So, overall, the Blues Brothers comes out with a respectable 24.5 out of 30. A big, bloated film with an equally bloated score. I imagine that's what you think, Matt.
I think it's good. I think it works. It works for me.
Yeah,
we can't look at it as fucking scholars, can you?
It's
Blues
not.
Brothers.
It's not Citizen Kane. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We hope you enjoyed our behind-the-scenes examination of the film, and if you did, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and leave a comment to get the conversation started. If you can't get enough of All the Right Movies, or just feel like being generous, well, we know you're out there, and you want to support us, you can become an All the Right Movies Patreon supporter. You get access to a brand new exclusive video every month with the opportunity to vote on which films you want us to talk about as well.
Yeah.
That really helps us out hugely because it allows us to do more of these videos, which we love to do.
Yes, we do.
You also get access to our podcast archive, overflowing with hilarity and incredible behind-the-scenes stories on some of the best movies ever made. So if that sounds good to you, please go to patreon.com/all the right movies.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Yes, indeed. Our patrons have access to the whole archive of podcasts, but you know, also buy all episodes of our podcast individually on our website as well. That is priceless entertainment, which ironically you can get at a knockdown price.
Yeah. Really cheap.
Reconcile that, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
So if that sounds good, I'll go to alltherightmovies.com. And that is a wrap, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, particularly to our Patreon supporters. They always have a front row seat at any ATRM gig.
Yes,
and we thank you very much for your support.
Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Okay, who wants an orange whip? Orange whip? Orange whip? 3 orange whips.